Okay. I already recorded. So we start right now, right? Okay. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today our group is group 4. We are going to have a presentation that mention about educational organization. In our group have 3 members, Rahayu Oktanari, Chesna Fitri, and I Sampua. Sorry, it's slow. Okay, so we have 3 contents in this chapter. So the first topic is responsible for Chesna, and the second one is presented by me, and the last is for Rahayu. So now it's time for Chesna for having a presentation.
Okay, thank you, sis. I will presentation about definition of educational organizations. What is organizations? Organization is any situation in which 2 or more persons are involved in a common pursuit or objective. Organization is a group of people who work together in a structured way for a shared purpose. Okay, next is. Okay, this is a definition organization by some experts. The first is Sajahan, 2004, said that an organization is a system or 2 or more persons engaged in cooperative actions trying to reach some purpose. And next by Jerry L. Wilmans, 2009, said that an organization is for our purpose any systemically arranged group of individuals working towards shared objective. And the last by Rainey, 2009. Organizations is a group of people who work together to pursue a goal. Next is. Okay, this is opinion by Rainey, said that organizing involves leadership processes through which leaders guide the development of strategies for achieving goals and the establishment of structures and processes to support those strategies. And structures are the relatively stable, observable assignments and divisions of responsibility within the organizations. Okay, thank you. I think that's all for me. Next presentation by my friend.
Okay, thank you, Chesna, for your good presentation. So the next topic is responsible by me. So in here we focus on the structure of educational organization, and this is the definition of it. It said that the organizational structure is a form of organization as a whole that describe the unity of the various segments of the organization and function. We are influenced by environmental conditions, size, type of technology usage, and also the targets to be achieved the goal. And the organizational structure should be organized clearly and this should be described in the map or in the chart for consists of the overall or the whole activities and also about the processes in that organization. Okay, and here are the structure of the educational organization about the components by Balis in 2006. So for the structure, it should consists of a set of the people and also a set of operating decision variables and a set of parameter or the framework variable and a set of the things that are used as a rewards. And the next is about a set of assignment, each of which pairs a decision variable from the set of component 2 with a subset of people in the set of component 1. And the next one is a set of assignments, each of which pairs a parameter variable from the set of component 3 with a subset of people in the set of component 1. Okay, and the next one is a set of assignments, each of which pairs a reward variable from component described in component 4 with a subset of people of component 1. And the next is a set of decision rules, each of which involves one decision variable from the set of component 2. And next one is a set of decision rules, each of which involves one parameter variable from the set of component 3. And the last component is a set of decision rules, each of which involves one reward variable from the set of component 4. It means that here, let me explain about, you can see the tick number 5, the fifth tick, a set of assignment, each of which pair a decision variable from the set of component 2 with a subset of people in the set of component 1. You can compare with the sixth tick, a set of assignments, each of which pair a parameter variable from the set of component 3. It's mean that if we talk about the fifth tick, we talk about a decision variable, but it's from the set of component 2. But if you talk about a parameter variable, it's not from the set of component 2, but it's from the component 3 because they are different variables. So we have to put in the different component as well. But both of them are in the same set of component 1. Okay. So now we continue to establishing a system of relationship in the organization that enable the achievement of the communication, coordination, and integration of all activities of organization in both in the vertical and horizontal direction, which is an element that is dynamic. It means that in moving and rather than static without changing anything. It means that we focus on the activity. Okay. And next one, here we talk about the organizational schemes or framework which provide the reporting relationship that express as vertical line on the organization chart show about a person who is an office or individual. And also in this organizational scheme, also describe about the scopes of responsibility or allocation of the duty or the title of the job or the line that indicating the scope of the duty or authority or responsibility. And you can see more here. It also this framework also show about the position that description about the duty and responsibility of each position or grouping by function that showing about the employee with similar job that group in the organization led by the same boss. Okay, and here we talk about the chart of the organization that show about the organizational structure with the boxes or the lines that are ranked according to position which is connected to each other with lines of authority channels. And then here we talk about the usefulness of the schemes or the organization chart that for determining the size of the organization or lines channels of authority or the various units of the organization, the details of a unit of the organization, every position in that chart, and the details of official duties or the name or the class rank, the number, and also about the official photograph or the position which access whether that organization apply the principle in that organization well or not. Okay, and here are the structure that conducted by Sutato in 2002. We talk about the straight down relationship. Yeah, straight down relationship here, we focus on the connection between a superior officer with inferior officer that consists of the command, the delegation or authority, control, and direction. And for straight up relationship, here talk about the relationship between inferior an officer with superior officer, such as it's mentioned here about the reports, submission of accountability. And for the horizontal relationship, we talk about the relationship between equal best officer is meant the same rank, the same job title, such as asking about the opinion of the head of advice or ask for consideration colleagues. And for the down diagonal relationship, we focus on the connection between superior officer with inferior officer from other units. Example, request for assistance from the head of head A to the performer of B or the head B. And for up diagonal relationship, talk about the relationship between inferior officer with superior officer from other units, such as the delivery of information from the operator at unit B to the head of unit C or section C. Okay, you can see here is about the chart that I have mentioned about a moment, and here we can see the head of each bureau that we focus on the straight down relationship. Okay, straight down relationship here, and here is the straight up relationship of the head of B section or head B. And for horizontal relationship here, it's show about the head of the section who are in the same function or the same job title, or yeah, you can say like that. And for down diagonal relationship, you can see here down relationship here we show about the superior officer. Yes, very slow. Superior officer with of inferior of officer from different units. Yeah, head of C section or B section or A section. Yeah. And for up-down relationship, we talk about the relationship between inferior officer with the superior official from other other units, and they also bring about the delivery of the information to the superior official. Okay. And here it talk about for establish about the organization unit that we have many units in here. The first one we talk about the leaders unit. Leaders units here we focus on the supreme authority and the final charge in the organization. For example, the university presidium. And for the BOW unit, we focus on the organizational unit that conducted the activities for who the ones who makes the rules or the basic policy that accommodate about the public opinions environment. Example, the university senate. And for the third one is about the operation unit that we focus about a kind of organizational unit who perform the crucial activity related to the achievement of the organization goal. It focuses on the educational management department, faculty of the education. And for the next one, the first one, it talk about the commercial unit. It's also an organization who perform the activity that related to the goal, but the goal here is related to the management of the economic. For example, for in phone company, so it also focus on the economic fundamental. And the next one is about the arrangement unit. Is here it focus on the one of a unit that conduct the activity for health or supply the need to other units for make the units or the organization run smoothly or effectively. And the last no, not the last, the sixth one is about the control unit that we focus on the activity, the unit that focus on the activity for the checking or supervision or control the implementation of the activity related to the plans or the policy or the regulation that for pushing the purpose to reach the purpose of the goal, like a financial audit. And the last about the consultation unit, it's a kind of an organization unit that conduct the activity for providing expertise or advice to another units. For example, the lawyer or the staff that who are expert for consultation. So that's all for my points. So thank you everyone. Now it's time for Rahayu, responsible for the second, the third topic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sampos. I will continue the materials about pathway, level, and type of educations. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Okay, we start about the definition of pathway of educations. A pathway in education is a vehicle through which students develop their potential in an educational process that is in accordance with educational goals. Next slide. Educational pathway in Indonesia include formal, non-formal, and informal educations that can be mutually complement and enrich. All three have differences that complement each other. As already explained, the educational path is a vehicle through which students can develop their potential in an educational process. There is an accordance with educational goals. That's why the government has introduced an educational route. The first one about formal education. Formal education is an educational path that's structured and have level consisting of the first about primary education and secondary education and the higher education. Primary education is the level of education that underlies the secondary education level. Primary education in the form of elementary school and madrasah ibtidayah or ME or other forms equivalents and junior high school and madrasah sanawiyah or another equivalent form. And secondary education is continuations of primary education. Secondary education consists of general secondary education and secondary educational vocational. Secondary education in the form of senior high school, madrasah aliyah or vocational high school, or other the form that equal. And the last, higher education. Higher education is a level education after secondary education, which includes a diploma, bachelor, master, specialist, and doctoral education program organized by college. Education units can be managed by the government or private sectors. And the second one, non-formal education. Non-formal education consists of course institutions, training institutions, study groups, centers for community learning activities, and unit similar education. Non-formal education is held for community members who need service education that function as a substitute, addition, and or complement for formal education to support education. Non-formal education function to develop the potential of students with an emphasis on mastery of functional knowledge and skill, as well as the development of attitude and professional personality. And the last, informal education. In terms of legislations, education within the family is a part of pathway out of school education, which emphasizes the culture of religious beliefs, cultural values, moral values, and skills. For example, educational pathway in family and environment. Next slide. And then the level of education. The level of education is the stage of education are determined based on the level of development of students, the goals to be achieved, and the ability to develop. Next slide. Okay, the first about primary education. Primary education such as elementary school and madrasah ibtidayah or other equivalent form and junior high school and madrasah sanawiyah or MTS or other equivalent form. And then secondary of education. The secondary education is further basic education. Education secondary consists of general secondary and education vocational secondary, such as senior high school or vocational high school or other equivalent form. And the last, higher of education, which includes educational programs, diploma, bachelor's, master's, specialist, and doctor organized by higher education. Next slide. Okay, the last about the type of education. Type of education is a group based on the specificity of the educational goals of an educational unit. The first about general General education. General education is a primary and secondary education that prioritizes the expansions of knowledge needed by students to continue their education to higher level. The form as elementary school, junior high school, and then senior high school. And vocational education is a higher education system that is direct at mastering certain applied skill, which includes education program for Diploma 1, Diploma 2, Diploma 3, and Diploma 4. Vocational education graduates get vocational degree, for example, A.MA or intermediate expert and A.MD intermediate expert. And then academic education is a higher education system that is directed at the mastery and development of certain disciplines of science, technology, and the arts, which includes undergraduate, master, and doctoral educational program. And professional education. Professional education is a higher education system after a bachelor's education program that prepares students to master special skills. Graduated, for example, graduated of professional education get a professional degree. For example, after holding an S.A atau SA, a person takes an accountant professional education, and then he holds an SA point AK, SA.AK, the title. And then, for example, someone who has a medical professional degree continue to specialist education program. He gets certain specialist degree. And then religious education. Religious education is an education that prepares students to be able to carry out roles that require mastery of knowledge about religious teachings and or become experts in religious knowledge and practice their religious teachings. Religious education is organized by the government or community groups of religious adherents. And special education. Special education is education for students who have difficulty in following the learning process due to physical, emotional, mental, social maybe, and or have the potential for special intelligence and talent. Special education is the provision of education for students with disabilities or students who have extraordinary intelligence that is held inclusively or in the form of special education units at the primary and secondary education level. For example, extraordinary schools or sekolah luar biasa. And then I think enough for the last topic, and then back to moderator Sampors.
Okay, thank you so much, Rahayu, for your nice presentation. Okay, so that's all for our group presentation, and thank you for your paying attention, and also sorry for making any mistake in our presentation as well. And if you have any question or comment, we feel warmly welcome for your question or comment. Thank you. That's all, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see.